When I was like 4 or 5, I once got locked in the girls' bathrooms of my kinder by a female janitor. It was around 12 p.m., the time where everyone had left school. Long story short, no one would hear my screams or punches to the door, until an old man in a suit opened the door and said, "You have to go now, but make sure you run as fast as you can," and so I did. There was a huge scandal because the woman that had me locked confessed she was being extortioned by some people to have kids kidnapped. But no one ever had seen or known any man like the one I described, and I never saw him again.
Was a little kid at the time, not tired or anything, and was fidgeting in my bed trying to sleep when I heard the floorboards in the hallway leading to my room creak. I froze and looked towards the door, slowly covering my face with my blanket. I heard a deep voice go, "Should we take him?" At this point I'm scared as hell but am making no noise, holding my breath and silently panicking. A deeper voice responded, "No, he's still awake," and I freaking went crazy panicking. I must have stayed there trying to not move for several hours before passing out. Still scared to this day. I've got more stories I'll post when I get home, but this is one of the scariest.
Now this is where crap heats up. There used to be a group of kids that would take their dirt bikes beyond the creek, and would go riding way out in the desert. One day they didn't come home and everyone assumed they had just gotten lost. They were found a week later, all 5 of them. They were alive, with no food and no water out in the Australian outback for a week. What scared me was what one of the kids' younger brother told me. He said that his brother had said they saw a light out in the desert, and they felt compelled to follow it. He said he felt like he was in a trance, and they didn't stop following this light for the entire week they were out in the outback. He said no matter how far they kept traveling they didn't seem to get anywhere close to it. He said if the farmer that found them hadn't have found them they never would have stopped following the light, and eventually would have died.
There's a small building somewhere in northwestern America, up along the border between Oregon and Washington. It's just this short little old shack in the woods off the highway. Anyways, inside, there's a spiral staircase made of grating that goes straight down. If you go all the way down, you'll find yourself stepping out into an endless field of tall grass. There are many bones surrounding the bottom step of the stairs, and things move in the near distance. Nobody who has ever seen these things has come back to say what they are.
You wake after a wild night of partying to find that while you were wasted, for some reason you had a crude smiley face tattooed on your foot. You write it off as a lesson to never drink that much again. The next time you wake, however, you discover the face is now on your ankle, and it's not as crudely drawn. The day after that, it's on your lower leg, and it's starting to look more like a drawing of a real face. As it continues to move up and become more realistic looking, you wonder what happens when it reaches your own face.
I can hear them babbling outside my door at night. It begins innocently enough. They sound like normal, toothless babies, making completely harmless baby sounds. But as the hours dwindle away and 10 p.m. fades to 3 a.m., their noises gradually become more menacing. Innocent babbling becomes helpless crying, becomes angry screaming. I can hear them screaming right now. In 16 minutes, my door will open. One of them will make its way up to my bed. Despite my best efforts to hide, it will find me beneath my covers, trying to charm me with its giggles. As soon as I look at it, however, I will not see a baby. No baby would try to gouge out my eyes the way this creature does every night. I can avoid them, however. It is possible and I have done it. I just have to sleep through it, and they will go away. They will go away.
An elderly woman traveling by train from Buffalo to Pittsburgh was horrified to discover a bedbug in her berth. When she arrived home, she wrote a strongly worded letter of complaint to the president of the railroad. To her delight, she received a reply, 2 pages long, just a few days later. On the first page, the president offered an abject apology and assured her that he would attend to this breach of sanitation personally. The elderly woman was very pleased with the president's letter and turned to the second page. It was a handwritten note that read, "Send this cranky old bitch the standard bedbug letter."
Belief is a powerful thing. Well, not your belief. Your opinions couldn't be less important. But there is someone, and there always has been someone, who can control the universe by his powers of belief. You see, at any given moment the universe is controlled by what one particular man believes. All things, right down to the laws of physics, are subject to instantaneous change as soon as one dies and another is chosen. Amelia Earhart disappeared when the new believer couldn't fathom a female aviator. Ever wonder why Newton's seemingly obvious laws of motion took so long to come around? Well, for thousands of years all the believers put their stock in Aristotle's physics. Believers don't even know about their powers, and it is flat out impossible to tell who is one.
She lost consciousness an hour ago. Most of it was out of her, but I was still missing the head and one arm. There was just so much blood though. I mean, I expected blood, but there was a lot of blood. I originally thought one bucket was going to be enough. I almost had 3 full now. I took a deep breath, bent the wire at a different angle and started again. Since she was unconscious I decided to go in farther. I get most of my hand in and start twisting. More blood flowed out, but so did most of a face. I figured I was making progress. I go deeper. My entire hand enters her. I had to fight off the urge to screw her right then and there. There was work to be done. It took another 15 minutes. I washed up, dumped the buckets into the nearby sewer and popped open a beer. I like being an only child. Feels good to know I'll continue being one.
For a brief period in 1971, a New Jersey-based company sold novelty X-ray glasses through the mail via advertisements in the Marvel line of comic books. People who viewed their televisions while wearing these glasses reported seeing images that were hellish or like hell. It should be noted that this phenomena occurred whether the televisions in question were turned on or not. The company quickly went out of business and investigations reveal that the company's address leads to an old graveyard that had been abandoned decades before.
Mommy always leaves me and Daddy home on Saturday nights, and me and Daddy always go get ice cream in the car after dinner. I have to sit in the back seat until I'm a big boy. I go in the kitchen to see what Daddy is cooking for dinner after my Barney movie is over, but he's not in there this time. I saw a note on the counter that said Mommy and Uncle James were going somewhere together. I'm not sure, I don't read that good. I go find Daddy in the garage. I shut the door behind me like I'm supposed to. Daddy is in the car and he already has the car turned on. We must not be eating dinner tonight, only ice cream. I get in the back seat behind Daddy since I'm not a big boy yet. Daddy doesn't say anything when I said hello to him. Maybe he can't hear me over the loud car. I think I'll take a nap on the way to ice cream. I feel kinda sleepy.
Visit grandfather in hospital. Night by the time we leave. Sitting in car with family, I notice an illuminated doorway in an old building with a man in a suit making all kinds of gestures, using his hands as if he's using a steering wheel, falling over, strange hand signals. Shaven head, wearing an old kind of suit, eyes blacked out by shadow. Stare fixedly at it, back of my mind tells me it's rude to stare but I stare anyway. Brother asks what I'm looking at. I nod towards the door, talk about the strange man. But anon, nobody's there. I am 100% I saw someone in that doorway behaving strangely. And nothing like that has happened since.
Be me, 20-something wage slave. In a bus, going home after a long day of work. Some random guy standing next to me, ordinary looking skinny dude. He strikes up a conversation, typical small talk bull crap. I'm not particularly interested in chit chat, so I just nod and give the occasional short answer. He suddenly starts dropping little snippets of information about my personal life into his sentences. Some of it is stuff I've never told anyone about, not even my closest family members. I'm sweating like crazy, thinking the dude is probably some deranged stalker who wants to gut me and wear my skin as a diving suit or some such horror movie bull crap. Pretend I'm not at all creeped out and continue to go along with the conversation. Bus reaches my stop, I tell mystery guy that it was nice talking to him and quickly get off the bus. Run home, lock the door as tight as possible, close the blinds, grab my gun from the safe and keep it at arm's length for the entire evening. Nothing happens, but I do feel uneasy for a few days. Several years later, I still have no clue who the guy was and how the hell he knew all of those things.
Anyone else have slightly strange experiences as a young child, and only when you got older you looked back on them and realized they were impossible? 3 to 4 years old. We're poor and live in a crappy apartment. My parents slept on a mattress on the floor. One day, playing and jumping on the mattress. Jump off the mattress and onto the floor, but somehow managed to end up flipped completely upside down out of nowhere, balanced perfectly on the center of my head, with nothing close to lean on, and not using my hands to support either. Defying laws of physics but too young to realize. As a kid just think, haha, I have a flat head and I balanced on it. Think back on it later on in my life and realize it's completely freaking impossible. Parents don't remember it at all. 4 to 5 years old. Wake up the middle of the night. Mom is not home. Walk into living room. Dad is standing there, in the middle of the room, fully naked, standing in a T-pose like a 3D computer model. He's completely motionless, like a statue. Not even blinking. Too young to care all that much or question it. Go back to bed. Decades later I think about it again and realize how freaking weird it was. Dad passed away so now I can't even ask him. My friend was always kind of a neat freak. Cleaned her house from top to bottom every month. So when some type of weird clear slime started showing up everywhere, she was livid. She'd go on and on, saying, "It's in bathroom, it's in the halls, hell, it's probably in my hair right now." I guess, thinking back on it, she really should have gotten a professional to look at it, especially after it chemically burned her skin when she touched it. But, she always thought bleach and a good pair of rubber gloves could solve any problem. The amount of stress she was under probably didn't help her think clearly, either, what with her dog disappearing shortly after, and the bank riding her ass constantly about her bills. When the police came to my door to ask me about her disappearance, they had some on the bottom of their shoes, though it was more red, like bloody mucus. I blanched at it as they described how they believed she had gone into hiding to escape her creditors. I really had no idea she was in such a bad place. She never seemed like the person to go into hiding or something like that. Now I keep finding little traces of it here and there, and I think it's getting worse. I wonder if this is a neighborhood-wide problem.
This short story is from my mother who heard it from her friend. It is not scary, like who was phone, perhaps unnerving, but it is more heartwarming-ish. Be mom's friend. Be in mid-20s. Go attend a posthumous wedding when visiting Korea. Sure win it.jpg. Wedding held in a monk's temple. Monk has done all of the decorations and prepares the wedding. Uses 2 dolls. One is that of a woman. The other is that of a man. They are placed facing towards the altar in the middle of the temple next to each other like bride and groom. Monk explains that the spirits of 2 virgin ghosts, yes, that is a thing in Korea and they are apparently quite aggressive, will possess the dolls as their connection to the land of the living. Mom's friend is amused but is respectful. The wedding is complete and the monk ushers everyone and himself out of the temple to leave the newlyweds alone. Leave the 2 dolls overnight. The monk returns the next day. Discover the dolls to have been moved. The dolls were found facing each other. It is romantic yet eerie.
Be driving home from a late shift at work. Moon is out, still a very dark night. Live roughly 30 miles outside of town with my cousin. Driving along the interstate for some of the trip, take my turn and start the last part of the drive. 12 miles of dirt road that leads back into the woods. Only have 2 neighbors who live right next to the road I am on. No one for 12 miles. I am about halfway home when I come around a bend, going maybe 35, and I see some bright object crossing the road. Swerve just enough to avoid hitting it. Have no idea what it is was very small. Replay making that turn and seeing the object a couple of times in my head, get curious, and turn around. Come around the corner and see the object resting on the opposite side of the road, totally still. It's a toy. I get out and approach the toy. The forest is totally dark and totally quiet. Still about 5 miles from home, 7 miles from the main road and nearest neighbor. It is a plastic toy train, just the engine portion of a train. I play with the wheels and wonder how it got out here. Turn the toy over and see a dial. Give it twist. It's a wind-up toy. Remember that this was rolling across the street. I drop the toy and begin to walk backwards to my car, too scared to turn around. Ass bumps into the door. The door rocks, bumps into something and then settles. Something is blocking the door. Before I can turn around to investigate, hear something year off down the road, plodding like it's on all fours. Turn and see nothing. Get in my car and haul ass home. Never saw that toy again. My cousin believes me cause he sees weird crap too.
I'll share mine, it's very eerie and strange. Be me. Around 5 or 6. On the back seats of my dad's car with my uncle. We were going at the restaurant for dinner. About 7 p.m., already dark. I was watching outside the window. Suddenly the high beam light up something on the edge of the road. Stuck on the grass there was a very bright red face, almost triangular, with stylized facial features, pitch black eyes and white mouth. See pic, not a good artist. I immediately looked away and asked Dad if he saw that. Yes. I ask what was that? My father and my uncle answer almost in unison, it's the red face. They were very serious. I ended up being silent the whole trip because I was poop maxing myself.
Posted this a few weeks ago in a Greentext thread. Have a colleague, became pretty good friends recently. Feel connected to her in a way I don't with others. Said something to her, can't remember what it was. She was a bit spooked because I said exactly what she was thinking or planning to do. I laughed it off, she seemed a mix of intrigued and weirded out. Anyway. Yesterday she's out on an office errand. Get a though that says she needs something on her PC, and wants me to send it to her. 2 minutes later my phone rings and I know exactly who it is and what she will say. This has happened twice again since I made the post. Anon said she is my soulmate.
I got one. Be me. Total freaking redneck. Driving around a logging road to find some place to camp. Pull up by a little creek. Follow said creek. Pitch tent in nice little clear area. Disclaimer, this is not a clearing. It still has tree canopy, the trees are just farther apart. Got my redneck buddy with me. Hell yeah. Drinkin' beer, roastin' weenies. I'm about 1 beer away from being drunk when it happens. See some douche spider walking exorcist style between trees. Both of us book it and leave the tent. Thing gives chase for about 700 meters. We are also lucky that we didn't start a fire.
At my friend's house having dinner. They don't smoke, have to go outside to smoke. Enjoying the cool summer air, feel a creeping tingle on my neck. Look at large bush-covered fence. Nothing. Something in my mind tells me, look, for God's sake, look at it. I suddenly see a pale face in bush. I'm a bit creeped out, but I just think it's just my mind playing tricks on me. It's a plastic bag and I'm just having teleological response ECT. Walk slowly over to the bush to prove to myself that it was nothing. I walked maybe 30 feet and it was still 40 away from me when suddenly my bravado evaporated in an instant. I saw a fully developed, human-like face, very long with wide, dark oval eyes, a thin mouth and porcelain-colored skin. There was just something wrong about it. The face was at least 3 feet from brow to chin, it was leaning out of a bush, I could certainly see a narrow neck connecting to the head. Those eyes, the face looked dead, but those eyes looked into my soul. I don't even know what I did next, I think I just bolted back to the house. Walked my buddy's Alsatians the next morning. Because well, I wasn't going out alone, found nothing, not even footprints. I just suppressed what I saw, but that encounter has shattered my illusions. If it was a prank, it was a Hollywood-grade puppet. I don't drink and I have no mental problems. That night is like a thorn in my mind.